Thank you, everyone. And as Undersecretary Allen said, it's so wonderful to see everyone together in this room, slightly delayed, but we're here. And welcome to the State Department. Welcome to the Benjamin Franklin Room. You can see Franklin looking down upon us. Always an inspiration. America's first diplomat, signed and negotiated our first treaty, charted the Gulf Stream, pioneered electricity, gave us our ethos of self-government. Virtually none of these things did he do while sober. So I find him to be a genuine inspiration every day in our activities. Secretary Bunch, Lonnie, thank you. Thank you not just for today, but thank you for truly visionary leadership of one of our national treasures, the Smithsonian, and all you've done throughout a remarkable career to make our public memory more inclusive. It's hard to think of anyone who already has the extraordinary lasting legacy that Lonnie has produced. We feel it and live it every single day, those of us who are fortunate enough to live in this community, but Americans from across the country have the benefit of it when they travel here. It's just an incredibly powerful thing. And Liz, to you, to your incredible team in public diplomacy, many joining us from across the department today, thank you for the work that's brought us here to this day. At home and abroad, this team is leading extraordinary work to help people bridge divides, to try to help each person see the world through someone else's eyes, and fundamentally, to recognize our common humanity. One of the things that I see again and again around the world is that the single biggest poison that we have to deal with is dehumanization. When that happens, it's very, very difficult to make progress on any of the things we care about. The work of the Smithsonian, the work of the State Department and our public diplomacy team, our ECA team, led by the remarkable Lee Satterfield, it's all about fundamentally humanizing each other, finding, sharing our common humanity. And when you do that, you've got something to build on. You can have a conversation. You can engage across borders, across barriers of geography, language, culture, heritage. That's why this is so important. And it's more important than it's ever been in the times that we're living. To our other friends and colleagues here, the Smithsonian Regents who are with us today, the museum staff, philanthropists, we're so grateful for everything that you do, scholars, members of the diplomatic corps, thank you for the work that you're doing to illuminate our past and in so doing, brighten our future. If you go back to the earliest days of our nation and actually to Ben Franklin, scientific exchanges have shaped and strengthened our country. Franklin's portrait reminds us that this is part and parcel of our diplomacy. He was originally, of course, an inventor who was amazed by the work of scientists who were studying electricity in Europe, and he used their findings to help harness the power that we all use today. 8 decades later, as the United States was celebrating its 50th anniversary, an English chemist, James Smithson, was inspired by all that our young nation represented. He wrote in his will that he would leave his savings to the American government to create an establishment, and I quote, for the increase and diffusion of knowledge across humanity. Smithson believed that everything in life should be examined. Minerals found deep in the earth, the chemistry of volcanoes, something very relevant today if you're in Iceland, snake venom. He even tried to find the scientifically optimal method of brewing a cup of coffee. And by the way, Lonnie, I need to go to the Smithsonian to see if the papers are there on that, because I'd really benefit from that every single day, too. Smithson also believed that every scientific discovery, no matter how small, was worth sharing, because he knew that one person's observation could lead to another's revelation and benefit people around the world. We were talking about this earlier. Another thing that struck me in working in this area for 30 years now, is I'm convinced for most problems that we're trying to solve, somewhere, someone in the world has probably found an answer. But if we can't share it, if we can't know it, then we're all fated to reinventing the wheel. The power of these connections is something that I've seen time and time again. So this was the fundamental idea at the heart of the organization that he imagined and named the Smithsonian Institution. So here we are nearly 200 years later, and the United States has grown his legacy of scientific exchange exponentially and expanded it to include countless other fields: art, history, cultural heritage, education. Today, and I see this every day, international collaboration is more important than it's ever been, because the biggest challenges of our era, the challenges that Americans have to face, from the warming of our planet to democratic backsliding, they don't stop at anyone's national borders. But time and again, I've also seen that for nearly any given problem, as I said, somewhere someone has the beginnings, at least, of a solution. By bringing together experts, scientists, historians, educators, artists, researchers from all across the globe, we're swapping solutions, we're developing new ones, and we share what we learn with people around the world. That's why for years, the State Department and the Smithsonian have joined forces to try to facilitate exactly these kinds of exchanges. That's why we also work together to try to support the next generation of experts by creating school curriculums, developing spaces in our embassies where young people can learn new skills and study English, which, by the way, is probably our most powerful export. Today, we get to celebrate something. We celebrate the next step in a partnership with the Memorandum of Understanding that Lonnie and I will sign in a few minutes that sets out our common vision for the next 5 years. And we start with 4 new initiatives that I just want to briefly touch on. First, the State Department is opening up its Embassy Science Fellows program to Smithsonian scientists so that they can travel the world, share their expertise, whether they're helping to protect marine ecosystems or training local officials how to prevent disease outbreaks. And I want to pause here for a second, because there's something else that's very powerful in what the Smithsonian does as it's engaging around the world. It's sharing knowledge, it's transferring knowledge, it's transferring skills. And this becomes an incredibly powerful, self-fulfilling prophecy for countries that benefit from its engagement, as they are then able to develop themselves the next generation of experts in whatever the particular field is. That dynamic that the Smithsonian is at the heart of is one of the best things that we do around the world. Second, we are strengthening our ties, already strong, with the Smithsonian's Office of International Relations by, as you heard, creating a new position for a State Department detailee. So, Aviva, stay tuned. We'll have someone heading your way. For years, we've had a state liaison who's advised the Smithsonian on his work abroad. We're delighted that Natalie Brown, our former ambassador to Uganda, has taken on this role. Now, we're building out that team by bringing on a second diplomat, Jennifer Harris-Baxter, who will work with Natalie and help facilitate our collaboration on science, on technology, environmental protection, and public health. Third, we recently began a project in Mexico to preserve traditional art forms like weaving and metalworking. Along with our local partners, we'll help artisans market their products and make a sustainable living. That way, they can keep practicing their craft, keeping this culture alive, bringing it into a new century. And we'll use what we learned in Mexico to continue similar efforts around the world. Finally, we're launching a new international exchange program called Cultural Heritage Forward. This initiative will bring together experts from museums, from governments, from cultural organizations, and community groups who are building more inclusive museums. Whether they're helping to return artifacts to their rightful owners under international agreements, or working to accessibly provide information about their museum's collections, these practitioners will be able to share their best practices for preserving cultural heritage and lifting up stories that have been left out of the spotlight. And I think we know from our experience, these stories are among the most powerful things that we have and that we can share. narrative is so vital for actually reaching people, not only in their heads, but reaching them in their hearts. And this, too, is the work that we're able to do together, the Smithsonian and the State Department. In the years to come, the Department, the Smithsonian, will continue working together and with our colleagues across the globe, grow these programs, expand other exchanges, develop new partnerships. As we do that, we will keep realizing James Smithson's vision of an increase and diffusion of knowledge, benefiting Americans, benefiting people around the world. So thank you to each and every one of you for being here today, for making this day possible. As I said to Lonnie earlier, this is an important day, but the 364 days that follow will really be important as we actually get to work on implementing the agreement we're about to sign, which we will do now. Thank you.
This Memorandum of Understanding between the State Department and Smithsonian includes new collaborations in science and research and will expand art, educational, cultural, and scientific exchanges. The Department of State is proud to renew its partnership with Smithsonian, an institution whose expertise has led the global conversation on cultural heritage, storytelling, and scientific discovery. Please join me in a round of applause. Thank you all for coming. We look forward to working together. Thank you.